Welcome to the Protagonist Pub. My name is Tammy. And this is where characters gather. So today, I am going to introduce a new series of recommendations for genres and specifically subgenres within a genre of book series that I have really enjoyed throughout my very long reading career. I'm going to start off with probably one of my favorite subgenres, and you will notice that for the most part, I think this is probably going to hold true for most of these recommendation videos. The books and the series are older in nature. One, because I'm an older reader. Two, because I think authors and editors are becoming very lax in what they write, and the writing quality isn't the same. So today I'm going to talk about 3 cozy mystery series that focus on food. These are probably among my favorites. 2 series are complete. 1 series is ongoing. I will talk about the complete ones, and then I will talk about the ongoing series. So, without further ado, the first series is the Goldie Schultz mystery series. It is written by Diane Mott Davidson. It is complete. There are 17 books total in the series. The first book was published in 1990. And the first book is Catering to Nobody. I went and picked up a copy from the library this week, specifically for this video. And as you can probably guess from the cover, it takes place Halloween time frame. And it introduces Goldie Schultz, who is a caterer, her best friend, Marla, and her 11-year-old son, Arch. Goldie is recently divorced from her physician husband, also known as the jerk. He was abusive. Marla was his first wife. And Goldie is a caterer. She caters out of her home. And they live in a small town in the Colorado Rockies, not too far from Denver, but not what you would consider a Denver suburb. And in the first mystery, Goldie is catering a lunch, and eventually her former father-in-law is murdered. Goldie becomes a suspect, obviously, because of her contentious relationship with her ex. She meets the detective for the sheriff's office, whose name is Tom. And in order to save her business, she must figure out who killed her former father-in-law. This series is very dear to my heart. It is one of the first series that had food, and a food business in as the setting, the backdrop. This is the first one that I know of that had recipes included with the mystery. I have made many of those recipes in my lifetime. They are all delicious. And unlike one of the series I will talk about here shortly, this series covers a broad range of food recipes, everything from appetizers to desserts. There's vegetarian options. This is very near and dear to my heart. So near and dear to my heart, in fact, that I bought the Goldie's Kitchen Cookbook by Diane, Mott, Davidson. And it has the recipes from the books. And it talks about her, what was going on in the chapter and her time with the life and how she ended up incorporating other things from real life into the books, like vegetarian. One of her characters ends up being a vegetarian because her editor was. I can highly recommend this cookbook. The recipe for Scouts brownies is amazing. They are some of the best brownies I've ever eaten in my life. I make them. I enjoy them. My husband enjoys them, even though he's currently got us on the carnivore diet. Unless I'm not making brownies. But oh man, do they sound good. Moving on before I make myself incredibly hungry. I will talk about the series I only have on Kindle. My library does not own a physical copy of these books. They do, however, have the electronic copies. That is the Santa Fe Cafe series by Anne Myers. There are 3 books in the series. The first one is Bread of the Dead. Then there's the which is set around Day of the Dead. There's Cinco de Mayo, which is obviously the 5th of May. And then there's Christmas title I can't think of. I will put it right here. Which is set at Christmas time. These are set in Santa Fe. Our protagonist is Rita, and she is the chef at Tres Amigos Cafe. And she too is divorced. She is living in a casita on the outskirts of Santa Fe with her teenage daughter. And I want to say a quarter or so through the book, her landlord gets murdered and he ends up very close to her doorstep, which brings her ex-husband, the cop, in. The cops rule it a suicide. Rita doesn't believe it. And with her boss, Flory, who's 70-something, they set out to bring the killer to justice because Rita doesn't feel safe. Her ex-husband doesn't believe her, that there's just no way this was a suicide. And she needs resolution so that she feels safe, her daughter feels safe. And I loved this story. It was unique. Santa Fe isn't used very often as a backdrop. The culture in Santa Fe plays a vital part in this story. The recipes are delicious. I will probably read the second book in the series in May and probably finish up the series in December. I have been savoring those, waiting for those last 2 books to read them because I know when they're done, it's done and I will be sad. Anne Myers also writes as Nora Page. She has another 3-book series. Protagonist, I haven't read it yet. It is on my list of things to read. Is a 70-something It revolves around a bookmobile. Very interested. That series is also high on my list. And I may try to squeeze that in this summer. We'll see. Next up is this ongoing series that is very near and dear to my heart. Next up is the ongoing series. It is very near and dear to my heart. It is the Hannah Swensen series by Joanne Fluke. And yes, it's that series from the Hallmark movies. But the series came first for a long time before Hallmark ever got a hold of the movie rights. This is currently a 29 book series. The first book was published in 2000. And Hannah owns the cookie jar in Lake Eden, Minnesota. And this book violates so many of the things that drive me insane, and yet I still love this series. She owns a small business in a small town, and she can regularly manage to solve a mystery while somewhat ignoring her business, which, if you know me, you know that just drives me batty. However, there are something about these books that is incredibly charming and incredibly just it always gets me out of reading slump. If I'm in a reading slump, I really need to get out of it because my brain says read and nothing works, I will pick up a Hannah Swensen book and I will read it, and my reading slump will be gone. I will even violate my I don't reread if I really, really, really need to get out of one. I will pick up a Hannah Swensen I've read before. That's how much I love this series. Not sure what number this is because unfortunately they're not numbered, which I really think publishers should do for a long-running series. I know this is not the first. This is the Christmas Cake Murder. And I will put what number of the series it is down here. I have probably a third to a half of these books. Honestly, if you've seen the Hallmark movies are fine. They're not my favorite. They're not horrible. They're good. They're just not overly representative of the books, I would say. The books, the tension between Hannah and Mike and Norman is less, but it develops over many, many books. The interaction between Hannah and her mother and her sister, cracks me up. Hannah with her nieces makes me smile. Just the whole series is the definition of cozy. It isn't going to tax your brain. You aren't going to have to, look up words or, try to figure out what they're doing. It's just a cozy mystery dealing with food. And that is okay. It happens different seasons of the year. There's recipes, the whole 9 yards. There tend to be more dessert type recipes, especially in the early books. But every single recipe I've ever made out of a Joanne Fluke book has been an absolute hit. Made it multiple times. So much so that I have also purchased the Joanne Fluke The Cookie Jar cookbook. This is Hannah Swensen's Recipes from the Cookie Jar, a Lake Eden cookbook. They're delicious. I will read you a couple of recipes from here, from the back cover. Kiss My Grits cookies, peanut butter and jelly pie, Norwegian pizza, minty marbles, double chocolate puffs. These are so good. They are not complicated recipes. If baking intimidates you, do not be intimidated by anything in these books. They are not difficult. She gives you just step-by-step instructions. They're easy to follow, and they're usually stuff you have on hand. If you don't have it on hand, it's not so super exotic. You can't find it at your local grocery store. So those are my top 3 recommendations for cooking cozy mysteries. There are many more I could have recommended, but those are my top 3. Those are my go-to. If you want a cooking cozy, those are the authors I would recommend time and time again. The recipes are delicious. The characters are memorable and stay with you. The settings are enjoyable. And they take place in not huge metropolitan areas. They're not set on the East Coast. They're not predictable in that matter at all. So if you need something to read, excuse me, and you want to cook, go pick up one of these books and do yourself a favor. Please comment down below, like, and subscribe, and I will see you here next time at the Protagonist Pub.